All right. Hey, everybody, welcome. No fancy intros for us because we don't need them. So there you have it. Thank you for joining us for a few moments of Q&A. I am going to be doing this for about an hour, maybe a little bit less than that. But I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to come and just ask some questions and chat for a while. We don't have an actual, what do you call it, overarching theme on this one. Didn't take time to figure one out for you, but I guess, we could talk about Dice Tower Con since that's next week. We could talk about Gen Con, that's coming up in a little while. So there's a number of different things we could talk about. So anything that you'd like, and of course I'm going to vet the different questions on the chat. So there is that. I'm going to break out chat, pop out chat here in the window. So that will be there. Audio, video is good. Thank you, Trevin. And ahoy, Meeple Overboard. All 13 of you. Well, there's 28 watching now, so that's good. We've gone up. If you have any questions, we'll go ahead and get to those in just a few minutes. I do need to send out one text real quick, and I apologize for that because I usually try not to do that. But okay, All right, so let's see here. Have you gotten a copy of the new edition of History of the World? Would love a review. Well, Roland, no, we haven't to my knowledge. I'm looking over where we have some of our stuff come in that has not yet been opened that we do for our daily unboxings, and I don't see History of the World over there anymore. I do have some obstruction in my vision, but I don't think it is, because it's not in it's definitely not in the top 3 shelves, and the bottom 2, which is where we keep the bigger games, I don't see it at all. So to answer your question, no, I don't think we have gotten a new edition of History of the World, so we'll see. Let's see here. Do we have any specific, Eric asks, do you have any specific responsibility during the Dice Tower convention? Well, Dice Tower Con is one of the conventions where we have events at night that we're responsible to be at. Top 10 list, the award show, the Jack Val's Memorial Fund auction, those kinds of things are during the evening. I do have one thing on Thursday night. We're doing a game of Twilight Imperium 4th edition for it was an item that we offered during the Jack Val's Memorial Fund auction on Board Game Geek. So that's going to be fulfilled on Thursday. That is something I have to do. But other than that, no, we really don't have any other obligations, I'll put it that way, or responsibilities during the convention. It's just, play games with as many people, relax, have fun, and, just be a presence there, I guess you could say. I think, if I'm understanding my responsibilities correct, that's pretty much what it is. So that's that. Have you tried the new Century Eastern Wonders? No, I haven't. I haven't been able to try it yet. Hasn't been able to make it to the table, so I don't know if I like it better in the Spice Road or not. Chris Lawrence says, how's Massive Darkness on your list, or thoughts after you've played a while? It's pretty much right there where it was. Massive Darkness is probably one of the 2 or 3 dungeon crawls that I have that I would normally go to. And, if I have somebody that likes something like Black Plague, which I kind of would consider a dungeon crawl as well, although it isn't specifically, it's more of a cooperative game. I guess dungeon crawls are cooperative too. I don't know. That's kind of a gray area for me. I don't know that I would strictly say that Black Plague, Zombicide Black Plague is a dungeon crawl, although I can see where the argument could be made. But if I have somebody that likes playing Black Plague or Zombicide, then I know Massive Darkness is a dungeon crawl that they will probably enjoy. because there's a lot of similarities between the two. Not real mechanical similarities, but there's a lot of familiarity between the Zombicide games and Massive Darkness. So that's kind of what I would do. But if I have somebody that's more into role-playing games, then maybe I'll pull out something like Sword and Sorcery. If I have somebody that's more into games like Memoir 44 or something to that effect, maybe I'll pull out Descent or something to that effect. So that's kind of my thought process there. So Massive Darkness hasn't gone anywhere. It's going to stay there. Are there a lot of board games with the same name? There are some. I wouldn't go so far as to say that there are a lot, but there are some. If you just do a search in Board Game Geek, then you'll see the similarities automatically. If you just put in a word, you'll see that same word is used many, many times, and so forth and so on. So I don't think that there are a lot of games out there, because that's just not really good for the game itself. You need to provide some kind of differentiation between itself and everything else that's out there. So I don't think that there are a lot, but again, I haven't actually done the numbers or anything like that, run a spreadsheet or what have you, but I wouldn't say that there's a lot. Let's see. Why is it hard, in particular, to make a sports-related game? Well, I think people like sports-related. I think people like sports for different reasons. So when you come and try to make a board game about a sports game, which you're going to have difficulty catering, I guess you could say, to any one specific kind. Because if you cater to one kind of group of people, of demographic within people who like, for example, say baseball. Some people like the stat crunching idea of baseball. Other people like the ambiance, I guess you'd say, or the context of baseball. You know, they like going to the park. They like being at the physical game. They don't necessarily like watching it on TV. Maybe you like it for the strategic value that it offers, you know, trying to get in the head of the pitcher and trying to get ahead of the base runner and see what they're going to do in any given situation. Those are all different kinds of aspects of why people like that sport. Well, when you make a board game or a card game, you really are kind of, it's almost like a shot in the dark. That's the way I look at it, at least. The game that you make, how many different groups of those demographics is that game going to appeal to? That's the difficulty. I've seen 1,000,001. That's an exaggeration, but I've seen 1,000,001 games that are soccer related. And some of them are good, some of them are not good, and the vast majority of them are just, yeah, it's another soccer game. So I think that's why. I think sports games are really hard to replicate because you have so many different aspects of why people like that sport. And it's hard to really kind of nail down any one specific demographic group. You don't need good games that have sharks in them. Yeah, there are some. I know our friend Pete Shirey made a game called, oh my goodness, I forgot the name of it, Shark Attack or something to that effect, where that has, I mean, Pete loves sharks. He loves them. And so that is one you could possibly check out. I have not yet been able to play it, and that is I have to apologize for that because I really want to play it. I just haven't got around to it. James Carret says, what game are you most looking forward to playing next? Oh, that's a good question. Well, I just saw that we got in the new Spectre Ops today. I think that would be fun to play next, although I don't know that it's the one that I'm most looking forward to. I don't know. I haven't really put a lot of thought into that right now. Right now, I'm just trying to kind of keep my head above water, get stuff done so that we can go into Dice Tower Con. And then when I get back from Dice Tower Con, I'm taking our church youth group to youth camp. So there's just a lot of stuff. I haven't really been looking that far ahead into the future because there's so much I have to get done now. So I just really haven't thought that much about it. I'm really looking forward to playing TI4 on Thursday next week with Roy Canaday and Crystal Pisano and Ambi Valdez and Nick. I don't know his last name. So there's that. I'm looking forward to playing Exodus Proxima Centauri Event Horizon, one of the expansions for that. I'm going to play that with Rainer at Dice Tower Con as well. I'm going to play that with my two boys, Michael and David. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So nothing really has come out of the woodwork, I guess you could say, and said, hey, boom, 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 this is something you want to play. But I am enjoying it. We got our review copy. I did a what's in there video for it of the oh goodness, A Song of Ice and Fire. So I'm looking forward to getting that back to the table again, kind of, and being able to play through an entire game. I've played the game now about 3 or 4 times, but none of those times has been a complete game. It's just been kind of a demo version. So I'm looking forward to pooling all of that knowledge, or getting it to pool rather, so that we can get a full game of it in. So that's another one. So no one in particular, but a whole bunch of difference. Let's see here. There it goes again. There we go. What? Josh says, what is a game that you don't like but has one thing you think is great? That's a difficult question. I don't know that I have an answer for that, because usually one thing, if one thing really stands out, I usually at least enjoy the game at some level, because I enjoy that aspect of the game, so it kind of bleeds over into the others. I don't think I dislike a game and then like one specific part of it. So I'm sorry. Let's see. Do you do any deck building with your Shadespire decks? No, I actually don't. I know I can. Well, here, let me do this. Let me say this. I do switch cards out from time to time, but I don't do them as I'm going to formulate a strategy and then use cards that back up that strategy. I don't build my deck that way. I simply say, okay, I've used this one enough. Let's put some different cards in there and see how that does. The only deck that I really spend time, any amount of time with, is the objective deck, because I think the objective deck really kind of provides more of a strategical viewpoint than the power card deck does. So, but I could be wrong with that. Okay. Adge Matthews says, would you be in favor of some reskins of classic games that might be out of date now, like a Social Deduction, 13 Dead End Drive, or Kids Hidden Move, Don't Wake Daddy, No Rule and Move Ever? No, I don't think about those kinds of things. For example, when Restoration Games says, hey, we're going to do this, I'm like, oh, I forgot that game existed. I don't think about that too much, just because that's not within my personality. I'm not always looking for the new thing, but I'm more interested in playing games that I know that I enjoy more often than not. Which seems kind of weird coming from a reviewer. I enjoy playing games, don't get me wrong, but if I'm doing it for pleasure, I guess you could say, if I'm doing it for just the fun factor, I'm playing a game that I already know how to play more often than not. So reskins of the old classics that I haven't played in so long, it's just not something that I'm thinking about. Let's see. Okay, so Board Game Fangirl says, besides perhaps the New History of the World or Small World, what is the best dudes on the map that would be engaging for 4 middle school aged boys? Huh. Well, if you hadn't said middle school, if you had said high school, I would have pointed you immediately to Blood Rage. Even though that might be a little bit Might have a little bit of a difficulty there with the theming, but I don't think you would. But for middle school age boys, well, I'll tell you this. I was just talking to my son David the other day, and he reminded me about how much fun he used to have playing Arcadia Quest when he was in middle school. So maybe Arcadia Quest would be the best for that. Imperial Assault might be a little too heavy, although I don't think so necessarily. But Arcadia Quest might be your huckleberry there. Support for that upcoming 8th edition video content. Okay, thank you, is it though? We are still trying to get that done. It is... I guess I just simply have to apologize. There's just so many things that have been going on over the last couple of months. We have not been able to get to it. And I apologize for that. I sincerely do. Furthermore, Vernon and I are not in the same geographical area. He's close, don't get me wrong, but it's a little bit more difficult. It's not just a, hey, can you be here in 5 minutes type of thing. It takes more planning than that, and I simply have dropped the ball on that. So I apologize. That's my fault. But thank you for the support. It is coming. We have not given up on that. My son and I were just looking at those 40K models last night, and that was a subtle reminder that we needed to get that done. So we are still going there. Josh, is someone going to try review the 2nd edition of X-Wing? I don't know. And quite simply because I don't think we've received a review copy of it, first of all. Second of all, I don't really have any interest in getting into the 2nd edition of it. I don't like that model, I guess you could say, of releasing a 2nd edition and tweaking it a little bit. I don't know. I don't really want to get into that because I thought the 1st edition was just fine. And I think it worked well. I think they had a great system involved there, and then they plopped down a 2nd edition. I don't know. Don't like that. Let's see here. Hello, Kabuki. She showed up. Just got a copy of Regime of Hex with 9 armies in it at a convention, and I'm testing it with 2-player games to get a feel. Is the 3-player version worth doing as well? I've never played it as a 3-player game. I've only played it ever as a 2-player game, so I would not be the right person to ask. You might want to ask Z the next time he does a Q&A, because he has a lot more experience with Regime of Hex than I do. So there you go. Are Blood Rage and Scythe good with only 2 players? I haven't played either of those games with 2 players. That's another thing that I don't usually do. I do some exploration, I guess you could say, with games, because I do, especially if I'm doing a review, I do want to see what the different player counts are. But I rarely go down to the minimum and the maximum. And the reason I don't do that is because, well, I know with the maximum, often, well, maybe not often, but, well, no, I'm going to say often, that maximum number is just there because they wanted to try to sell more copies of the game. For example, many companies come out with a 2-player game. It is tried and true, a 2-player game, but they will say, oh, but you know what? You could add 2 more players and play it 4. Or you can add a 3rd and do this. And they tweak and make different variations within the rules to allow for a 3 or 4-player game, but it is really a 2-player game. So I try not to do that. I try to stay within, you know, the median range, I guess you could say. If it's a 2 to 6 player game, I'll try to play it with 4 and 3, and also maybe with 5. But I won't go from the extremes. So with Blood Rage and Scythe, I have no idea. I've never played either of them with 2 players. I have heard that Blood Rage is good with 2 players, but that's secondhand. And I don't. It was a person at a convention that said that they've done it a lot and they enjoy it. Let's see. I didn't actually watch the CCG or LCG list because I have very little to no interest in that genre of our hobby. I don't like the CCG model, and I really kind of don't like the LCG model either, where you have to buy a new pack every so often to stay current, I guess you could say. I know you don't have to, but that's kind of how it's built. So I didn't really have I didn't have a dog in that fight at all, so I didn't really watch the list at all, so I apologize that. Let's see here. Some discussion about Kabuki's birds, and they are doing well, and the parrot is starting to talk more and more, so that's good. Let's see here. How many games are called Shogun? Yeah, that's true. Would you like Games Workshop to bring back their Space Marine Epic or fantasy ship game Man of War? I never played either of them, so I don't really care either way. Gizmos is on a dancing kick currently. Oh, Gizmo, I bet you that's a pet. He's constantly dancing everywhere. Yeah, that sounds like a pet. I thought you were talking about the game Gizmos. Let's see, what is your favorite dungeon crawler game? Do you prefer Descent or Sword and Sorcery? I like Sword and Sorcery for its compactness and its story-driven nature. Descent was very fun, and I still enjoy it. I like it a lot, but it's probably fallen by the wayside. It got a little bit bloated, and I like how Sword and Sorcery is. It gets the same thing done. It scratches the same itch, but it doesn't have this, over conflated number of pieces and cards and miniatures and all that other kind of stuff. So there you go. Least favorite board game that you actually enjoy playing the mobile app version of the game? Huh. Well, actually, Regime of Hex would be on that list. I don't know if it would be my at the top of the list, and because it's not one of my least favorite games either. But I do enjoy playing Regime of Hex in the app more than I do playing the board game, the tabletop version of it. So, yeah, that would be on the list. Small World is another one that I've played the app a lot. Ticket to Ride, I've done that as well. But again, those are not least favorite games, so I apologize for that. Hello, Chris Collins. Let's see. If you guys could help me out, and I know that if you could either do the orange highlight thing or just put in the word question, that will help me weed through where I am here, and that'll help us go a little bit faster. Let's see. Who do I have winning the World Cup? Who am I rooting for? I haven't been able to watch very many games at all. And those that I have watched, I've only watched a little bit of it. So I don't really know. I don't really have I was really not happy, but I was really shocked and pleasantly surprised, I guess you could say, that when Mexico beat Germany. So I think that's cool. I like Chicharito. He was one of my favorite players when he was with Man U. So I would like to see him succeed. But, I haven't been keeping track of anything. So they may be already out of the running or something to that effect, but I don't think they are. But so, yeah, I don't know. I haven't been keeping track, but I just haven't had time this year. Shark Island, that's right. Shark Island, I'm sorry, Pete. Please forgive me. Let's see here. And thank you for correcting me, Kabuki. Let's see. If you would design a game, what would you like the theme to be? That's a cool question, Eric. I actually do have a rudimentary design, and when I say rudimentary, I mean like very basic design of a game where it is different factions of birds fighting over perches at an intersection. That's something that I've come up with. So it's kind of like an area control kind of game, but there's a lot of card play, variable player powers, and that type of stuff in it. And I just haven't been able to find someone to help me work out the different kinds of cards and that part of the mechanism. But that's the one that I have in the chasm up there. Let's see here. have or are you going to play Who Goes There? We actually, I have not played it yet, no. But I did see the box, and it is a huge box, so that was intriguing, but I know very little about that. Kabuki passed up TI4 to play D&D. Kabuki. No, no, no. Bad, bad, bad. I'm just kidding. She says, wish she could clone herself to play both. All right, there you go. You're back in my favor now. Just kidding. Let's see. What is my favorite Euro game? Are there any Euro games that you're looking forward to this year? No. I know it's not your wheelhouse, but thought I would ask. Well, I appreciate that. Netters Plays. Appreciate it. My favorite Euro game is probably some kind of worker placement style game. I would consider Scythe a Euro game, to be sure. That might be one of my favorites. I really enjoyed the Cold War game. Minutes to Midnight is their new one. Manhattan Project. I really enjoyed that one, and I really enjoyed Minutes to Midnight as well, so that was good. So those are the kind of games. Usually worker placement is what I'm really looking for, because I like the different choices that have to be made every turn, and you can kind of have a way to go into it, and it's a familiar construct, I guess you could say, for me. So excuse me, if you have worker placement in your Euro game, I'm going to be more prone to wanting to play it. Z has not played Twilight Imperium 4 yet, no. When we were talking about scheduling this game of TI4, it's going to be a 6-player game of TI4. He said, he actually, as I was walking by, he says, hey, do you guys have room in that game? And he waited for me to turn around, and he goes, psych! You know, so he's pushing those buttons just like you guys are. Do you think a Games Workshop fantasy sci-fiction game based on Richard Borgs' Memoir 44 system could work? Absolutely. I mean, you have a rich thematic background to work into there, and another reason I'm saying that is because I think that the Heroes of Blackreach that's coming out from Devil Pig, Yellow, and Games Workshop, that collaboration there, based in the Heroes of Normandy system, that's a great thing as well. So whenever you have a good system and it's matched with a good theme, that's like printing money, right? So with Richard Borgs' Command and Color system and the thematic richness that is Warhammer 40K, or even, you know, just regular Warhammer Fantasy or Age of Sigmar, then I think you would have a great game there. So, but you never know. Cult of the Future question: what is the upcoming game that you are most excited for? Really, I think the one that I'm most excited for to get my hands on, at least, is the Joan of Arc game coming out from Mythic. I was able to play that, oh goodness, last Gen Con, a year ago now. And then I saw it also at Essen a couple months after that. And every time I look at it, I want to sit down and play, or I want to just watch, because I love the way that the game is based upon all of the different legends and myths that came out of that medieval era, and how they are treated as real events. And so I like that. I like the historical, quote-unquote, nature of it. Yes, it's myths and legends, but there is a lot of historical value to it as well, because those are the reports that were actually given by those peasants and people that were experiencing those strange things. So there you have it. Do you play any war games besides Memoir? Usually not. And again, I want to stem the tide. Memoir 44 isn't technically what everyone else would consider to be a war game. Yes, I think it is a war game because it is a game that is themed around war, so it is a war game. But those that have their druthers would probably disagree with you on that. So if you're talking about like the chit games that have, you know, the units on little tiny chits, and you move those around a board, and they're usually long, and they have rule books that are convoluted or technical manual-ish, then no, I don't usually play those because I don't have anybody here in this group that I can play them with. Furthermore, we usually don't review them because they take so long to get through and so long to learn, and we probably would be doing a disservice more often than not to any of those games. Let's see. Hey, Pete showed up. Welcome, Pete. How many games do I play in a week? It depends on the week, really. It can go anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15. It just really depends on the week. But usually I would imagine that somewhere between 4 and 5 is the norm at the very least. Pete's ears were burning. That's right, he was. Don't nobody tell him why. Keep that on the down low. Are there any games you have played that you think need an expansion but don't have one? Or any games that have an expansion that you don't think it's needed? Huh. Well, I'll tell you what. Before Champions of Midgard got their expansions, I didn't think it needed one. I enjoyed Champions of Midgard beyond the shadow of a doubt. Now, after Valhalla and I think the Dark Mountains or something like that came out, I can't play that game without those two, or at least without the Valhalla expansion. I could probably play it without the Dark Mountains expansion, but I mean, both of them are really great expansions. So that would be an example of me thinking that the expansions were not necessary, but then coming to find out that I do actually think that they are now that I've played them. Let's see. Do you ever actively look for old, out-of-print games, or do new games monopolize your time? Well, because I'm a reviewer, naturally, new games monopolize my time. And because usually the out-of-print games are so expensive, I do not have the disposable income to go after them, so I just don't. So I think that answers the question. Middle schoolers definitely could handle Blood Rage Kabuki. I absolutely agree with that. But I was trying to be a little bit more on the generalistic side, because I do know that there are some just based on my experience with middle schoolers and youth group, I could probably pick maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 of the middle schoolers in our youth group that would be able to and would want to sit down and play Blood Rage. But the vast majority of them would not even want to. Not that they couldn't, not that they wouldn't be able to understand it, they just wouldn't want to, they would have no interest. So there's that. Jesse says, I know you don't back a lot of Kickstarters, but are there any Kickstarters you're excited about for July? There are not, because I don't. And when you when you say I haven't backed a lot, that is to say that I've only backed one Kickstarter ever. Again, it goes back to the disposable income. I don't have time or the money for things that might come in the future, and I say that a little bit, negatively, because you are kind of rolling the dice. You're gambling with some of these Kickstarters. Most of them are pretty tried and true, but again, you have no idea. I remember, 3 years ago, Tom bought Z and I a Christmas gift with a Kickstarter. He bought, one for himself as well, but it was one of these smart thingies, smart carry-on cases, and they just showed up this year, just a couple months ago, and they don't really even work. They look great, and they're very nice. They're very sturdy. They're very durable, but I don't know that they work very well, you know. And that was a gamble. I mean, it was a great sentiment. It was a great idea for a gift, but because it was Kickstarter, it just didn't pan out well, and it got delivered 3 years afterwards. So I just don't have time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Let's see. What games are coming out later this year you are excited for? Again, Jesse, I apologize. I have not been looking that far into the future. Mythic Battle, not Mythic Battles. Joan of Arc is coming out next year. We already talked about that one. That one's one that I'm really excited for. One that's coming out currently that I've actually done a review for. I'm really excited about. Big Trouble in Little China. Really enjoy that game a lot because of part nostalgia, part I just really enjoy the gameplay. And I'm just brain farting on everything else because I just haven't really been paying that much attention to what's coming out later on this year. Kemet might be a lighter Blood Rage dudes on a map game. Maybe, but Kemet can also be very abrupt. Because of, like, the first couple of times I played Kemet, I was taken aback by how spread out everybody looks, but how close you are to everybody as far as being able to attack and all that other kind of stuff. And that really kind of put me off a little bit the first couple of times I played it. It's actually one of its strengths now that I've played it more. That's a game that I'm excited for. The set expansion for Kemet, that is fun. Got to play that at the Gathering with the Shut Up and Sit Down crew, and they're great players, by the way, and we had a great time with the game, and it was really fun. So that's one I'm looking forward to. Let's see here. What is your stoked level for Ant-Man and the Wasp? Well, my son Michael just asked me yesterday, are we going to go watch it while we're at Dice Tower Con? I was like, well, I don't know. We might be too busy. We might, I don't know that I'm going to be able to step away for a couple hours to go to a theater to watch it. But we are definitely looking forward to it. Paul Rudd, I think his name is, we really enjoyed his take on Ant-Man, and we enjoyed all of the other characters in those shows, that movie as well. So we were very much looking forward to it when we saw that the Wasp was going to be in the next one. Let's see. I am looking, I am searching for questions. Would you say Memoir is a war game like Ticket to Ride is a train game? Sure, I could say that. I would definitely say that. But I think it's a little bit more of a war game than Ticket to Ride is a train game, because I think there are a lot of similarities between Memoir 44 and one of those traditional war games as far as, you know, squad level movement and that type of thing, but it is just simply pulled back a little bit. It's not as detail oriented and logistics and supply lines and all this other kind of stuff. That's just not there. And all of the rules that accompany all of that minutia isn't there either, and that's why I like it so much. I would rather have a very, I guess, generalistic game system that I can play in a number of different World War II theaters, rather than having to focus in on just one theater and then have it be really realistic. That's why I like Memoir 44 better than those traditional war games, because those traditional war games, they do a great job of focusing in on the minutia, focusing in on all of the small things that happened and all of the different things that those soldiers had to overcome during those battles. Whereas Memoir 44 comes back a little bit, still has that overarching educational value to it, because it does talk about the historical aspect and the impact that this battle had on the war overall, or at least on the context of that part of the war. It has all of that, and it still teaches on that level, but it's not like reading a technical manual of the rule book. So, yes, to answer your question. As you mentioned, Memoir 44 is not a war game. Is there a decent definition of war games you found and liked? It's always been iffy for me. Kabuki Kid said maybe coin games or block war games that don't take long. Well, the coin game series is probably a good idea for you to look at and say this is a traditional war game. Or you could look at the Advanced Squad Leader or Squad Leader. Those would be some of the more popular, I guess you could say, kinds of games out there. Combat Commander is another game that was put out by GMT that I actually enjoyed that system better than the Advanced Squad Leader or Squad Leader versions of it. But Combat Commander is another one that is like that traditional war game. So when people say war game, that's usually what they're talking about. They're not talking about things like Memoir 44 or Heroes of Normandy or anything like that. Let's see here. Joe Besser fan says, I prefer to game standing up. Is standing cool with you? I guess it wouldn't bother me. I mean, I'd rather you be comfortable than uncomfortable if you're playing a game with me. So if you want to stand up while you play the game, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. But that might, as Trevor said here, that might make some people uncomfortable just because everybody's sitting down and you're standing up. It's not that they're uncomfortable with you necessarily. It's just that that situation would make them uncomfortable. But I wouldn't have a problem with it. Do I still teach or do you work full-time for the Dice Tower? I am full-time for the Dice Tower right now. I am still part-time youth leader at my church, so there is that, but that's just a part-time level. I am full-time Dice Tower as far as my main job, so to speak. Mr. Fatoka says, best Shadespire race and why? Well, I got the chance to play the ranged combat Stormcast Eternals, and I can't remember their name when I was at Origins. That's really high. I really enjoyed them. They were very fun to play. But I think right now my favorite race right now is still the Orcs. I like how strong and powerful they are, and I like their objective deck has no hold objective cards in it. They are just going to get in your face and do as much damage as possible. And I like their inspired trigger as well. If they take any damage, boom, they're done. So I think the Orcs are probably my favorites. Second favorite is probably Dwarves. I haven't played them very often, though, so I need to play them a few more. They might be on the same level as the Orcs. But Orcs, Dwarves, Eternals, Stormcast Eternals, the Rats, the Skaven. That's a really fun faction to play. And then after that, probably the Khorne guys, the bad dudes, the Blood for the Blood God guys. Can't remember their name ever. And then after that, the Skeletons. The Skeletons are probably my least favorite. It's just not my style of play. They're very fragile. And so I just haven't been very successful with playing them, and as such, I don't like playing them very much. Let's see here. Let's see, Mintat1231 says, we're looking for an area control battle game like Risk, but you guys seem to have cooled on Nexus Ops. What do you suggest instead? Is ideally sci-fi? Well, Nexus Ops is not bad. It's just what I would say is a dated game at this point, because I think there are a good number of games out there that are probably better than it. Now, having said that, I'm at a loss for actually coming up with some titles. Now, I've not played this one specifically. I've played its fantasy version. I've played Sword and Sorcery, but I've been told that Galaxy Defenders is just like Sword and Sorcery. And if that's the case, maybe that. But that's more of a dungeon crawl rather than just dudes on a map. So I would be wary with doing that, especially since I've never played it and I wouldn't be actually giving you my personal opinion. I know that Richard Borg is coming out with a space sci-fi version of Memoir, so that might be something for you to look into. Man, I am just drawing a blank here for sci-fi themed dudes on a map type of stuff. Adrenaline, maybe, but that's not really area control. That's more like a first-person shooter. Risk 2210 would be, that's my favorite version of Risk, so there's that. Risk Legacy might be one that you would want to go for and try out. I don't know, we'll see. Let's see here. All right. Looking on, are there any solo games that you have played and liked? I usually don't play solo games because what I like about board games is the camaraderie around the table. So I don't really like playing board games solo. If I'm going to play a game by myself, it's probably going to be, on my phone or on an app or on a console or a computer. It's not going to be on a tabletop, just because I don't find that fun. I know a lot of people do, so I'm not downing it, but I don't enjoy it. So I've not played that many. I've only played a couple, and again, I don't want to say that I didn't enjoy them, because I didn't enjoy them not because of the game, but because I just don't enjoy playing games by myself. So there you have it. Any plans to review Who Goes There, and have you seen the minis? They look kind of good. I have not seen the minis itself. I've only seen the box because it was floating around here. Tom was talking about it some way, shape, or form. I don't know if he actually did a review of it or not. But yeah. Well, okay, Koss. Mr. Dice Odyssey, still so sad about the Follicle Forest being gone. Well, as you can see, it's starting to come back. So I made the decision to go ahead and give it a whirl again. So I will not be able to be anywhere near your level of beardosity, but I will have some growth coming. So yeah, I have not played Who Goes There yet. Good night, you guys. Do you read before asking these questions? Did I get as sunburned as Tom does by the sun? No, I do not. I have tan. I usually tan first. I do burn on my face and on my neck and my back, but no, nothing like him. Nothing at all like him. And he was at an event for his church, and I wasn't there. So, but even still, no, I usually don't get burned that way because, quite frankly, I put sunscreen on when I need to. Let's see. What's your advice for someone who doesn't have a friendly gaming store? He says, she says, I feel like I'm either stared at because I'm a woman, or I'm just not welcome, or it just sucks that I don't have a gaming group. Well, I completely understand that. And I'm sorry you have that experience as well. I do want to say that I've walked into many game stores and felt like I was just being stared at as well, just because the people who were running the store were not very customer friendly. They were not very customer service related. It had less to do with the fact that I was it just had the fact that I was there. And they were like, why are you here? You're like interrupting my game of Magic. That it was that kind of vibe. Advice for someone who doesn't have a friendly local gaming store. There are places out there like, we use the Meetup. website to schedule our meetups in our local area. So maybe go there and try to find out where these different places are meeting. I know some game groups meet in places like libraries and like rooms that are off the beaten path where you can actually, be a little loud and all that kind of stuff. I know that there are game groups that meet on like college campuses, so you could kind of check your local community boards or what have you and try to see if there's anything out there. But I would check Meetup first, just because. But I mean, I can't vouch for anything that you find there, because each group is going to have their own dynamic, yeah, I'm sorry you're having trouble finding a good gaming group. Let's see, Kabuki Kid just got Hammer of the Scots. Nobody cares. Just kidding, Kabuki. That's like a classic war game. You did the unboxing for Empires of the Void 2. Have you played it? No, haven't yet, but I think we're going to be soon. So hold on to that thought. Let's see. Where do you stand on those fruit drinks that Tom drinks during these things and absolutely loathes, yet keeps drinking? I think you're talking about the birch water ones. I actually enjoy them a lot. They're very tasty to me. Especially the strawberry one. The strawberry one has a great flavor. It actually tastes like you're eating a strawberry. So that was really good. Let's see. Mr. Fatoka, I just answered that question. You probably did that. What is my next painting project? Well, we've got the Warhammer 40K 8th edition still in the pipe, and that's going to be coming to fruition very soon. We are also, Vernon and I are going to be doing a thing for A Song of Ice and Fire soon. So that's probably going to be pretty close to the next tried and true project that we have. Okay. I am going to skip down a little bit. I apologize. I'm going to come down to the next one that says question. All right, here we go. Eric Burden says, do you ever find that a particular season is better for new games coming out? Well, I think the industry drives that more than anything else. I guess I would say that around the fall time seems to be a good time for new games to come out, because you've got people that are going to be staying inside more often, especially those that live in northern areas or colder areas. So you'll have people that are staying inside more often than not. But I mean, you never know. Let's see. I have not played Dwarven Smithy yet, and yes, it is on the docket. Yeah, that's one of the ones I was really looking forward to. Let's see here. Question, Trevin Taylor. Are there any games with co-op play but a single winner that actually pull it off well? Well, I think Dead of Winter pulls that off pretty well. I might be in the minority there, but I've always enjoyed that aspect of Dead of Winter. I think it's thematic, especially for the kind of game that it is, and I think that it works well. So a lot of people say that that's a downfall of Dead of Winter, but it's one of the positives for me. Are you interested in Eclipse 2nd edition? Nope. I mean, I'd play it, don't get me wrong, but I'm not clamoring for it. Let's see, which one do you enjoy more, Sagrada or Role Player, and why? I like Sagrada better, simply because I don't like all the other convolution that comes along with, building your character in Role Player. And trying to get all those different bonuses added to it and all that kind of stuff. Sagrada is more, I guess you could say, more streamlined and simple, and that's why I like Sagrada better. Plus, I like the color the color aspect of Sagrada as well. I think it's really cool. Do you have a favorite book and or series of books? No, I don't. I guess my favorite books that I have read, wow. I liked the Timothy Zahn books from the Star Wars universe. I like those, all of them actually. Those are I like him as an author. I like his style. I also liked I, Jedi, and I can't remember the name of the author of that one, but that was another really cool Star Wars book that I've enjoyed. I enjoyed, of course, the Tolkien books. Those are probably some of my favorite ones. However, I read as fast as I possibly can when he starts having Treebeard in any part of the book, because that is boring to me. So I also liked the Weiss and Hickman combo from the Dragonlance Chronicles. That was a really good series that I enjoyed a lot. Read those. Those are some of the only books that I've read, some of them multiple times, because I enjoyed them so much. So there's that. Those are probably some of my favorite book series. Let's see. Just received The Island of El Dorado. It looks awesome, but I haven't played it yet. Are you or anyone else from the ISR planning to do a review of it? I don't know. Haven't a clue. Have I taken a look at Ivian yet? And that is a no, because I don't recognize that name at all. Game 4 app is also very good. Yeah, we actually had them on at our Gamma coverage. So yeah, that's another place you can look. Do you still play Bonanza Duel? Not Bonanza Duel. It's kind of hit and miss. We play Bonanza, but we haven't really even played Bonanza that often lately. So there you go. Let's see. What are your predictions for the Spiel and Kenner Spiel? I do not have predictions. I don't like doing that. True, Kabuki, only sometimes there's a single winner in Dead of Winter, but I like that. I like that it's a possibility, and it's not always going to be the same, be that way. Have you painted the minis for the deluxe version of Rising 5 Runes of Astros? No, I have not. That might be a good project, because there's only, 5 models? So, that's a thought right there. I very much enjoyed Diamonds as my trick-taking game. Can you recommend others? I know you champion Tournament at Camelot, but I'm struggling to find it. Oh, I think it's called Dwarf King. Is that right? I think it is. Dwarf King is by Yellow. I think that's what it's called. Let me double check. Yes, the Dwarf King. It's by Bruno Feduti. That's a good trick-taking game. It's probably one of my favorites, and I think you probably should be able to pick it up pretty easily. Oh no, my chat went away. Pop out again. Let's see. Did I ever try D-Day Dice? No, I didn't. What have been some of your favorite snacks to receive from viewers? Iron Brew is definitely one of the coolest snacks that we received. Yeah, our trip last year to UKGE, there was a lot of good snacks in there, a lot of good stuff. Not good for the waistline, but good for the belly. Jeff Rainwater says, welcome to Plays 1 to 100 Players. This is a new game from Deepwater Games. Do you think someone at Dice Tower Con might try to get 100 people together to see how it actually plays at that player count, or see if the box is lying? Well, I guess that is a concept. You can technically play that game with 100 people right out of the box because it has 100 pieces of paper on its pad or something to that effect. So you could technically do that, but it seems that it would be, I don't think they're lying, but how fun it would be, I don't know. It says, my husband bought me Firefly Adventures. Have you played it? It seems to be have very non-specific rules. I don't recall if I've played Firefly Adventures. I know that there were a number of games that came out with the Firefly license attached to it. Some of them were decent, only a couple of them were good, and the rest were blah. So I don't recall if Firefly Adventures is one of the ones that I've experienced or not. All right, just a couple more moments here. So let's go ahead and it looks like we're at the bottom. Let's see here. Why are you answering me that question? I don't know. That must be something else. Viking beards unite. All right, Kos. All right, so let's go ahead and do the lightning round where you give me two possibilities and I have to choose one of them. I usually end my live Q&A sessions with this, so go ahead and hit me up with those lightning round thingies, and we'll go from there. You give me two options, like, for example, peanut butter or jelly, and I will say both because you've got to have both to have a good sandwich. Or I might say peanut butter because peanut butter is the nectar of life, or whatever. That's what we're doing here. All right, donuts or bagels? Bagels, because donuts are calorie bombs. Bagels aren't too far off of that, but at least there's a little bit of redeeming quality with the health factor there. So definitely bagels. Pizza or wings? Pizza, because wings can be very messy and they can be very tedious. With all of the different bones that are attached to them and all that kind of stuff. All right, super sandwich, definitely. Lego or K'NEX? Probably Lego for preference, but K'NEX for price. Horror or comedy? Definitely comedy. Blaster or lightsaber? Lightsaber. Rum and Bones or Mythic Battles Pantheon? Oh, wow. Probably Rum and Bones for its simplicity, but I really enjoy Mythic Battles Pantheon. It's a really great game and great miniatures and a very fun system. Jeff Rainwater, I do not answer Tom or Z. Never in lightning rounds, so I apologize. You wasted your time there. Soda or flavored water? Flavored water is by far better. Grape jelly or strawberry jelly? Strawberry jelly by far. Unfortunately, most of the people in my family like grape jelly, so I have to let that go by the wayside. Megalodon or Great White? Can I say neither, Pete? And I'm sorry, that's probably like a dagger to your heart. But I would rather have both of those non-existent because it would make my time at the beach a little bit more enjoyable. Peanut butter and jelly? Peanut butter. GKR or Scythe? I'm going to go with probably... For elegance, Scythe. For just plain old fun, GKR. M&M's or Canadian Smarties? Well, they're kind of the same. So I'm going to go with M&M's though, especially the peanut ones. I love peanut M&M's. Frogs or toads? Neither of them. They're both kind of disgusting to me. New game or old favorite? I would definitely go with old favorite more often than not. There's always something to breaking out that new game and having fun with it, but there's also something to, you know, coming back to that old rivalry between you and so on that old favorite as well. Bacon or eggs? You do not separate those two. So both. McDonald's or Burger King? Ugh. I'd go with Burger King probably. I like the way their burgers taste a little bit better. Erector set or Lincoln Logs? I'm going to go with Lincoln Logs. I couldn't afford an erector set when I was a kid. They didn't really have them much anymore. Anyway, I'm not that old. Burgers or bratwurst? Bratwurst, definitely. Bratwurst is much, much better than burgers. Flour or corn tortillas? Flour. I know they're not better for you, but corn tortillas crumble a lot easier, so they don't hold the stuff inside like they should. Azul or Sagrada? Sagrada. Inish or Rising Sun? Ooh. I'm going to go with Inish with that one. I like it a little bit, even just a tad bit more. Beard or mustache? Beard. Marvel or DC? You don't know me. Marvel. Dwarves or orcs? Again, you heard me earlier, Kent. And I know who you are, so I'm going to say I'm going to go with orcs. Stranger Things season 1 or 2? I liked both of them. Walter Payton or Mike Ditka? Both are legendary. Both are legendary. I think Walter Payton is probably the nicer guy, so we'll go with Walter Payton. Gaming all day or gaming all night? Gaming all day. I do not do well without sleep. Aisle seat or window seat? Aisle seat, always better. I can deal with a window seat. It's fine, but I prefer aisles. Tolkien or Lewis? I'm going to go with Tolkien. Stealth or strength? Since I really don't have a whole lot of either of those, I'm going to have to be, I'm going to abstain from that one. Aquaman or Unsweet Tea? If I have unsweet tea, it usually has some lemonade in it. So I like Arnold Palmer's. I don't like unsweet tea. It tastes gross. Blackhawks or Cubs? Blackhawks. Hockey is my favorite sport. I absolutely love the Cubs as well, and I enjoy watching baseball, but hockey is by far my favorite sport. All right, just a couple more minutes here. Nintendo or Sega? Neither. I'm either a PlayStation or Xbox kind of guy. Messed up again. I just saw a trailer, Kabuki, for a movie about megalodons. So you don't know that they're extinct. They could be really, 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 really deep in the water, and we just ain't seen some for a long time, and we think they're extinct. You don't know. Mars or Hershey? Hershey. Federation of Soul or Blood Angels? Neither. Dark Angels. Rocky or Creed? Rocky. Although I enjoyed Creed, it was good. Alien or Predator? I probably enjoyed the Alien series a little bit better. They were just made better, I think. Had a lot better actors, but Predator was fun too. Raiders of the North Sea or Champions of Midgard? Champions of Midgard. America or Murica? Well, it doesn't matter. America is the name of the continent that we are on. North America specifically. The United States of America is our country's name. But I just had a shirt bought for me for my son David bought a shirt that has Murica on it. But it's written, you know, the M and the A, it's written in Metallica style. So so I think that's pretty cool. All right, let's see, Xbox One or PS4? We have an Xbox One at the house, but not a PS4. We've got an Xbox One and a PS3. So maybe that answers. Mow your own lawn or pay someone? That depends. You know, right now my boys are that's their chore. They do it together. One of them weed eats and one of them, or edges rather. One of them edges and one of them mows, or they, you know, some conglomeration of that. So, but when they leave, I'm going to have to make that decision, aren't I? Let's see. All right, sugar or sweetener? I don't know. We'll see. But we're going to go ahead and get on out of here. It's 10 after 2. So I've been here for an hour and 10 minutes. But it flew by, and there are 99 people watching now, so we had quite a upswing in people watching, so I appreciate that sincerely for you taking time out of your day to stop by and chat. I hope it has been entertaining and enjoying for you. We're going to get on out of here. We do have Dice Tower Con coming up next week. Hoping to see some of you guys there and gals. And of course, if you see me in the hall or sitting down playing a game or whatever, please stop by and say hi. Love to shake your hand. So we'll see you on the flip side. Take care.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching the Dice Tower.